All right, don't blink. You might miss it. This is going to be a fantastic round of Magic, everybody. It's time for round number 16. So many win-and-ins. Don't move. You'll want to see who makes our top 8. Take it away, you two.
Thank you so much, Maria and Frank. Cedric Phillips. That's me, Corey Baumeister.
Hey, hey.
There he is. It is the best time in Magic, everybody. It is time to see who's going to make the top 8 here in Amsterdam. Plenty of Magic to bring you. Plenty of people are going to be absolutely pumped. And one of them, Corey, could be Brian Boss.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen Brian just kind of devouring the competition like Frank was saying here. And this deck's really fun to watch, but make sure to not leave your screen right now because this one could be over quickly.
Yeah, that's the kind of the expectation either way. As Frank did mention, Bant Nadu can kill as quickly as turn number 3, but this Rule Prowess deck can get the job done on turn number 2. Boss's hand here looks to be just okay here with a Mutagenic Growth, a Soul Scar Mage, an Assault Strobe, and a couple of other goodies over there, while Sam's hand is pretty explosive as far as the start is concerned. He's got a Delighted Halfling, a Wall of Roots, the Nadu, and a Court of Calling, which of course can find the Outriders in core. So these two players, they're not messing around. They kept 7 cards, and we are underway here in round 16.
Absolutely. Sam's hand looks amazing, and it's interesting how Brian Boss's style of Gruul deck here. Underworld Breach used to be that kind of catch-all, be-all that went way over the top with this deck. In here, that looks kind of like the worst card in his hand, so shows the power of the deck without really needing that incredibly powerful enchantment.
Well, Pardee is going to play Seiju. That'll be the first land. There's the Lighted Halfling, and we are going to be heading over to Boss. And it is worth noting there that Sam's first draw step was a copy of Shuko, so he is all rolled up for a turn 3 kill. It's on Boss to kill Pardee before Nadu and friends get going.
Yeah, Brian would have loved to have just a lightning bolt or some way to get the Delighted Halfling off the table to essentially kind of time walk here for a turn. But without that being the case, doesn't look like Brian's going to be able to do that or win the game this turn. So it could be a little tricky.
The Surveil from Commercial District is going to put a Monastery Swiftspear into the graveyard. Now here comes that Soul Scar Mage. Sam says no blocks. I'm prepared to take as much as you want to give me. And Brian says just 1, and Sam's going to fall down to 19. So we're heading back Pardee's way. It'll be his second turn of the game. Looks like the draw step may have been a copy of Summoner's Pact there. Pardon me, it's actually a copy of Hedge Maze. So you can also see in Sam's hand he already has the Springheart Nantuko as well. So when I say he's rolled up, Corey, he's rolled up.
Absolutely rolled up to do it next turn. This turn will have to be the setup turn, and we'll see what is the proper sequence here for Sam to do so. Can start with a Wall of Roots, then play a fetch land and play the Springheart Nantuko. That's one of the options. You can, of course, just play Nadu this turn and then do all the other stuff next turn. So all the options available here for Sam.
Yeah, and this is why Sam's turn is going to take a little while, because this game technically isn't going to take a long time as far as the number of turns are concerned, and because these players are playing in such a tight, compressed window, the actual taking of the turns is going to take a little while, because if anyone makes a mistake here, the game ends immediately in the hands of the other player.
Yep, usually kind of how 2 aggro decks would go back and forth. You know, the turns are not, there's not a lot of them, but they're all very important. Now these are kind of 2 combo decks, really.
Yes. So it's going to be a Wall of Roots.
Brian admiring the Beta Island here as Sam flexes.
One thing that people like, no matter the level of competition, is the artwork on the cards and what set they are from. So you will see the line there, Corey, of Wall of Roots first, Misty Rainforest Sacrifice, get that beautiful island into the Nantuko, and we're heading back Brian's way. Very big draw step here. Looks like it's in a copy of an Assault Strobe. So the Strobe is here on the Soul Scar Mage. Sam acknowledges with a yep. Here comes the Mage.
Yeah, I think we really needed a monstrous rage here to be able to push through. I think Sam is able to just throw a blocker in front and then still kind of do the thing next turn. Although, as I say that, there isn't an untapped third land, so either the Wall of Roots or the Nantuko are important.
So there is the block there on the by the Nantuko, excuse me, on the Soul Scar Mage. And you're going to see a Court of Calling here as X equals 0. So you're mentioning the lack of an untapped land. Well, Court of Calling can actually solve that problem, and Sam is going to do just that by going to get a Dryad Arbor here. So the ability to actually play Shuko and Nadu in the same turn now is online, ignoring that copy of Hedge Mage. So there is the Dryad Arbor. There will also be a trigger here, of course, with the Nantuko, because a land did enter the battlefield. So an insect will be on the way as well. Here's Sam is really starting to look like the favorite here in game number 1.
Yep, absolutely. This isn't going to be one of those deterministic, just auto wins this turn, as you really did need that Shuko, need that creature to stay alive, that Springheart Nantuko to stay alive to really close it up. But still, Sam's going to have a lot of looks at it to be able to close it out. Otherwise, just still have a very powerful wide battlefield going into Brian's turn if he gets one.
We're going to head back Pardee's way, who's already got a top 8 on the resume here this season, was making the top 8 earlier this year in Chicago at Pro Tour Murders at Karlov Manor. Sam looking to have 2 in one season. Shuko's going to start things off on the 3rd turn. There's the Nadu. This is what makes this deck so powerful, is just a perfect draw from Pardee here in this matchup.
Trying to have a lot of 2s here in this turn, that's for sure.
That is the goal, so let's get the party started. Pardon the pun, but Sam, I think, probably likes that one. So we'll see exactly what is going to be equipped here with the Shuko. So we'll start with the insect. That's where Sam will begin. There is a Temple Garden. Sam's going to decide if he wants to play that one untapped or not.
Sure.
The answer is unsurprisingly yes, given the amount of life that he does have to work with, so down to 16.
I guess you said F6, right?
Next up is a Shuko. Brian did announce F6. For you Magic Online fans, you know what that means. For those of you who've never played it before, that means that Brian is passing priority entirely. He'll have no responses, hoping he actually gets his turn back. Find that pretty unlikely, though, partner.
Yeah, I think so as well, and there really is the final piece. We're going to see Sam play this, and we're going to be all wrapped up and ready to go. Brian just really needed a piece of removal for that Delighted Halfling to be able to slow Sam down, or, of course, Monstrous Rage to be able to give Trample and get through with this Soul Scour Mage.
Sam's going to keep moseying along here, going to equip that token of Shuko. It's a copy or is a Saga. Trigger, of course. I mean, that'll be a counter on that incredibly powerful land. Sam will now, of course, get a insect as well from the land entering the battlefield, thanks to the Nantuko. Second activation is a fetch land. You'll see another trigger here from the Nantuko, so there's an insect there. Insect's going to move over there. Sam very communicative, but I'm going to help him out for all you wonderful people at home. As Delighted Halfling is the reveal there 1. Sun Chaser is the reveal there 2. Brian says, no more thank you, and we are on to game number 2.
Game number 2, the very important game where we see Harsh Mentor coming in, which was key for Brian in the last round, though some of the answers that Sam does have, there's a Skyclave Apparition that you can tutor for, as well as Teferis in the main deck, and the Storm Drake to be able to steal Harsh Mentor, as it does say triggers your opponent's control. So if Sam were to steal that card, won't be dealing Sam damage every time he goes to activate Shuko. So plenty of options for Sam to answer the extremely annoying 2-drop from Brian Boss.
It's a nice start here for Pardee on the draw with the Yapamaya into a copy of Delighted Halfling. Stomping Ground is the weapon of choice there off of the Bloodstained Mire here for Brian Boss. So the mana is online here for Boss, and Harsh Mentor is in the hand. No protection just yet. No Blossoming Defense, for example. But Brian's going to get a little aggressive with the Slick Shot Show Off, and maybe a kill on the next turn.
Yeah, next turn, Scale Up plus Assault Strobe is a ton of damage. Looks like, I don't see anything from Sam that's really going to prevent it. You get +4 from the spells, turning it into a 6-power creature. There we go.
Yep, and there's the Scale Up in the Assault Strobe, and here's the explanation from Brian.
8, 9, 10. All right.
Easy does it. Easy does it. Game number 3, that's the way to be. Brian Boss going to tie it up here against Sam Pardee. This is a heck of a format, folks. I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what.
The classic, all right. Yep, that'll do. Let's go to the next game.
And goes, I don't know how that works. You're about to.
Ooh, not a lot of cards here, Cedric, from Sam.
That is true. You can see a Delighted Halfling alongside of a Seiju. That's 1 and 2. Wall of Roots, Summoner's Pact, and Island. That's 3, 4, and 5. That's Sam's opening hand. Now, I will say this, Corey.
Yep.
Summoner's Pact is Nadu.
Yep.
Which means it only takes, well, okay.
What were you going to say, Cedric? Finish your thought.
I don't think I need to. There's a Shuko. Mold of 5, huh? No big deal.
Oh.
No big deal at all.
Your turn.
Well, here's the good news if you're rooting for Brian Boss. Brian Boss does have Harsh Mentor in hand, and I think Brian is probably smart enough to know that I got to cast this right now.
Yes.
There's no time for Slick Shot Show Off, and there is the Mentor. So the answer to Sam's perfect draw is here. Sam's going to take a closer look. I don't think he's going to like what he sees, Corey.
Yeah, probably not. No plot and slick shot show off or anything like that. That'll have to wait till next turn. Sam takes a peek at the card. Does see the opponent sacrifices or activate clause, so maybe looking at some of his cards as an out, but with such little resources, Sam was really all in here. Mold to a very aggressive hand, rightfully so, and as it stands, not great.
Well, here comes the Summoner's Pact. Now the question is, does Sam think he can just play through it?
I think so.
That's the interesting part in this situation is because Sam's got a lot of life to work with. Now, again, Harsh Mentor, it's 2 damage every trigger.
Yep.
That's at least 8 of them, right? So this might be a situation where Sam says, I'm at 20. I'm going to kind of go for this thing. Also, Sam does have the ability to pay for Pact right now with the 4 mana sources on the battlefield. So even though Harsh Mentor is quite good in this situation and Sam does not have a way to get off the battlefield currently, Sam's got plenty of life to work with.
Now, how deflating would it be if you have Harsh Mentor on 2 and your opponent just combos through it without removing it to start your combination? You know, this could be real deflating here if Sam is able to rattle off some of the right cards. Normally, that's exactly what you want to see from Sam to start. Not in this scenario.
Yeah, well, I think we might find the answer to that question about how deflating this could be here for Brian Boss. So Sam is going to start by activating that Shuko twice. He's going to do it thrice now. He'll fall down to 14. Another Nantuko in hand. Let's make it 12 here for Pardee. There's a force that's going to enter the battlefield. That one can be used for mana. The Dryad Arbor, because of Summoning Sickness, cannot. So time for Sam to reassess. Is there anything in particular he wants to do? Remember, the Delighted Halfling that is over there on the left side of the screen, that one can actually be tapped for mana.
Yes.
The Wall of Roots cannot be used.
Correct.
Because that helped to cast the Nadu earlier in the turn.
Yep. So it looks like the out that Sam is playing towards is either one of the creatures that deals with it straight away. I'm really only seeing the Volatile Storm Drake as one of the possibilities, but mainly the 4 Quarter Callings. Now has enough untapped creatures, or at least did, to be able to go for it, but doesn't want to take the risk, just says, you know what, maybe I'm not absolutely dead next turn, which I think I would agree with what we see from Brian's hand.
Yeah, and this is Sam kind of playing halfway a little bit, right? Because this is Sam saying, okay, so I did a little bit of damage to myself, got some activations, got a Wall of Roots in the battlefield. Now here's the thing. Brian, can you attack very well? That's the question that Sam's asking, because Sam has plenty of blockers in the battlefield, multiple Wall of Roots, a Nadu itself, and of course that Dryad Arbor. So Sam isn't really that scared realistically of dying this turn. And of course, Corey, if Brian has the nuts, you can't do anything about it anyway.
You're going to lose anyways. You're probably going to lose from 20 life, though, just as much as you would lose from 12.
Absolutely. So there's a show off. This is an Assault Strobe. And now here comes some beatdowns. And I like this attack here. Remember, this is a double striker. It's got a prowess trigger. Now there's Nadu, and Nadu is going to bite the dust, and the Slick Shot show off will die as well. Now don't forget, Sam does have to play for the Pact, and he will pay for it very quickly. But the reason I like the attack there, Corey, is because if Sam takes that damage, that means those activations with Nadu, way less life to work with.
Way less resources, 100%.
It's my upkeep. I'm paying for the Pact during my upkeep.
Yeah, that's just Sam confirming with the judge and communicating with the judge that the Pact is being paid for. That's why the mana is being tapped. And of course, the Dryad Arbor doesn't have Summoning Sickness anymore because it has been on the battlefield for a turn. So a very conscious decision there from Pardee to block with the Nadu. And of course, trade with the show off. And somebody feeling maybe a little frisky in the attack? I don't think it's going to be like that.
2-2, get on in there.
Okay. Sam says, you want to get in the red zone? I can get in the red zone too there, partner. Now Pardee's going to activate Wall of Roots. That'll be plural.
Sam does have the ability to go quite wide with these Spring Heart Nantukos in a fetch land.
Absolutely. Move Shuko around a little bit.
You know, the fetch lands do get hit by Harsh Mentor as well, so it's a lightning bolt to Sam's face every time he wants to activate that, so there's a real cost there, and a Lava Dart off the top was excellent. I mean, that is just one of the scariest cards from Prowess for sure.
And there is a Lava Dart, and that is a pretty good draw, as you did mention here. So it's going to be a Lava Dart that's going to take care of the Nantuko. That'll also be a Prowess trigger, of course, on that Soul Scar Mage that's on the battlefield, so it's a 2-3 current lead.
Yeah, and if anything, Brian has a solid turn here, might attack with Soul Scour Mage. The attack is pretty free, so you can kind of bluff attack here. I would love to see him get that into the red zone before casting these. But then next turn is really online if he's able to just find maybe another Lava Dart, just another spell, really, in general, to supercharge all these creatures. It's going to be very good for Brian.
And no bluff attack here from Brian. He's actually going to keep it pretty simple, which is just playing multiple copies of Soul Scar Mage, play that Arid Mesa, no cards in hand, simply pass the turn back. Speaking of cards in hand, Sam drew a pretty good one.
So Sam drew a pretty good one, but we remember when Sam stopped, he drew one card since then. Quarter Calling would have been the card below it, so Sam would have been down to 8, would have found the answer, assuming that it's left in. Of course, you know, maybe you take some of your cards like that out, but it looks like Sam probably would have won that turn if he went for it.
Yeah, now the question is, how does Sam want to go about using this copy of Quarter Calling? It has a lot of options. I think that part is pretty obvious.
Yep.
It looks like Sam is going to start here with a Bestow onto Dryad Arbor with the Springheart Nantuko.
Why just get 1/1s when you get 1/1s that add a green mana?
There you go. So Sam getting a little creative with the Nantuko. We've generally seen that card just hard cast for most of the weekend. But for now, we turn our attention back over to Boss, who's going to sacrifice that Arid Mesa. I think a commercial district might be on the way, and there that red-green Surveil land is. So there will be a trigger here, of course, for Surveil, and we'll see what Brian is able to find.
I absolutely love how Sam has played this game. He's just the master of being flexible in a situation where this isn't a traditional game by any means, but Sam's ready kind of for anything at any moment here. Really love to see him just play Magic in general and watch him play and maneuver this.
Looks like Boss is not interested in another prowess creature, so Monastery Swiftspear goes to the bottom. Mystery card coming off the top. Didn't get a great look at it. Only person that knows it is the controller of the card right now, and Brian Boss, and he's got a lot to think about with the top 8 so close. His draw here in this match has been pretty good. Of course, we saw a very quick kill in game number 2. Had to climb a little bit uphill here in game number 3, but had a harsh mentor to slow Sam down. The big question now, Corey, is he able to cross the finish line?
Exactly, and Sam's play was really nice by bestowing that Nantuko just to hide it from Lava Dart from the graveyard no matter what. You'd have to kill the Dryad Arbor and then deal with the Nantuko, so has to find 2 removal spells so Sam can't go wide on the battlefield. But Brian looks like he's doing some math, which has got to be scary for Sam.
Yep. Is it real math? Is it bluffing? Is it somewhere in between? Again, nobody knows what that card is in Boss's hand besides him. And now this is the kind of spot, too, where you ask yourself, is there a good attack that I can make? You know, I have a Lava Dart. Maybe he has a spell in his hand. Maybe he doesn't. Is there a good attack I can make to start to whittle away a little bit here? And if you're also Brian Boss here in this instance, and of course, Corey, you and I have the knowledge of knowing that Sam has Chord of Calling in hand, you might be thinking if he does have Chord, what's he going to get?
Exactly, and it's more than likely just completely out of Brian's mind, because if he has it, it's just one of those things. It's just like, well, you have it. I can't play around every creature in your deck. You know, there's going to be a creature that's going to have a good spot here moving into this turn.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Sam would actually prefer to be attacked this turn.
Yeah.
Sorry? He wants to see the card in your hand.
Well, we have our answer to what the card is.
Okay, that's a real one.
That's an extremely real one in this situation.
I can see why Brian is pausing. You don't know. There's so many options with that. Take out a creature, go straight to the face, hold it for a while in response to another big creature coming into play. Has the Lava Dart as well for an option.
Yeah, this is extremely tough here because Lightning Bolt plus Lava Dart is 4 damage.
Yeah.
So that has the ability to kill a Nadu if it does show up. So you're kind of incentivized if you want to play the game a certain way to hold the Lightning Bolt. Does it benefit you to just try to play a longer game? Well, I think we're going to have that question start to be answered a little bit here because here is the Chord of Calling.
All right, Chord of Calling for any creature in your deck here. We'll see if Sam wants to prioritize getting rid of Harsh Mentor or just get Nadu here to start.
Well,
there we go.
There's a Skyclave Apparition, folks. That is an answer to the Harsh Mentor. And that's a pretty darn good one. So what Brian Boss was sitting behind, that's long gone.
Yeah, and now Sam can also, at end step here, go for the Misty Rainforest if he wanted to get another Dryad Arbor. Not really worth it yet. Maybe you want to wait till you find another Nantuko.
Yeah, that's an interesting spot there because, of course, with a deck that has Surveil lands, maybe you do want to sacrifice a fetch for the Surveiling, but Sam opted not to. So perhaps his draw step was a good one. It was just a breeding pool.
Landfall triggers here.
Could do a little bit better, but there is a landfall trigger there. Sam's going to pay.
Do you guys have like a preferred method for me to make a bunch of Dryad Arbors?
Oh,
this is
because
pretty...
each land is coming into play, he gets to activate it again.
Oh yeah, this is what we call totes adorbs.
Yeah, there's not only one scaling up going on here. This combination scales up really quickly.
So, Springheart Nantuko with the Bestow. You pay the 2, now Dryad Arbor enters the battlefield, which triggers landfall again, which means you can pay the 2 again, which is exactly what Sam's going to do. So you mentioned Sam's ability to go wide. Oh, he's going wide all right. Because remember also, you're kind of seeing it all in action right now, a little bit of just how good Springheart Nantuko is in this deck.
Yes. Oh, okay, gotcha.
And it looks like the face down cards were potentially going to be those Dryad Arbors, but now we see there's going to be those Dryad Arbors. So.
And then I got my 1 insect.
So it's going to be really tough now for Boss to actually get through damage.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't activate or tap those Dryad Arbors right away as they are summoning sick, but next turn with that Misty Rainforest in play, they'll be active as well. It's going to go starting with putting 3 into play, then maybe 9 the turn after, maybe 18, and it scales up indefinitely. So cool.
So now we have to start to think of what's Brian's best draw. And to me, I think the best draw.
What do you draw?
Well, I promise it's not that. It's not Soul Scar Mage. I think it might just be Show Off. I think it might just be getting in the air.
Yeah, maybe Monstrous Rage for a couple of turns where you can trample over, but pretty soon the grounds are going to be completely clogged up. And the festivities or Pyroclasm, something like that, ideal. Not in the list, though, of course.
I think you've got me crushed on that department. Right, that thing's attacking. Yep.
That thing's attacking.
Here comes another attack from Pardee. So Boss is going to fall down to 9. Sam is a reaching. Sam is a play-in. That's a Haywire Mite.
I am done with my turn after that.
We're going to head back over to Boss.
Yeah, and Brian Boss doesn't really have any artifacts or enchantment worth getting rid of for Haywire Mite. It's just really worth it for the fact that you can gain some life in a pinch.
Next up is a Monastery Swift Spear.
It's basically the 5th one.
So, the top of the deck is a bit unkind right now for Boss. All that he can do is pass the turn back. Pardee's going to sacrifice this Misty Rainforest. He's going to fall down to 11.
Able to find a land to create, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Dryad Arbors at end step at least?
It's a pretty large number. And I think Sam is making sure of the numbers and the math here to see exactly how many can be created. So he's going to get a basic force, and we'll let him explain.
Copies and then 1 insect.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Miscounted that. All right. I'm a doofus. Should have gotten a surveil.
Looks like it'll be 5 of those insects from this quote-unquote doofus.
Yeah, if that's the biggest misplay Sam's making, I think he's doing all right.
I think he's doing pretty darn good. Yeah.
There's a little accounting here. I'll untap. That's all good.
Yep.
We're going to head back Sam's way. Not even sure the draw step matters at this point, Corey.
Yeah, it looks like 10 damage could get through if Brian blocks everything. Then there's a Lava Dart in the yard plus a Bolt in hand. So it looks like Brian can survive this at 1 with my quick math.
Well, Sam's going to do the math too, which of course is a good idea. Yep. Temple Garden was the draw here for Pardee, but he's got some things to think about.
Kill up to 3 of them. Block 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Quite be lethal then. You have 1 card in hand. Doesn't seem very likely to kill me even if you have a slingshot. think I'm going to play this tapped, make 1, 2, 3 fresh Dryad Arbors and 1 fresh Insect. And then I will attack with all of my creatures that can attack onto Oliveros.
Well, here they come.
Here they come, and it will be, it looked like Sam was doing the math for the worst case scenario is you have a Lava Dart in hand. That would be getting rid of 3 of them. It's not that, but you do get a 2/2 for a blocker now, so it is kind of like getting rid of 3 of them. Looks like Brian Boss will go down to 2 when the dust settles, and you know, still in a ton of trouble.
Yeah, I'm still miffed on exactly what Brian can draw in this spot. There may be something, I'm not entirely sure what it is. The 2/2 that is coming, of course, is from the Skyclave Apparition Death Trigger, so.
That's fine, yeah.
Underworld Breach, maybe
Here,
the
I'll put all
best
the
draw.
1 power
Okay,
Dinguses
couple
up here.
bolts.
I did not think of that, so that's
These
fair.
are kind of a better power, and then these are the 2 power Dinguses.
So we can make the easy blocks on the 2 power dinguses. Make other blocks on these other dinguses. I guess we should be blocking the copies because they are top.
Yeah, sure. Looks like you're taking 7 as it stands, right? Or 8, sorry.
8.
Looks like it's 8.
I
But we'll see if Brian-
we'll
see if Brian's okay with
which
this.
is probably an acceptable outcome for the current board state, so I will accept that.
All right, you're going to go to 1. I'm going to go to 13 when my Haywire Might fights it. These are dead. This is dead. These are dead.
1 to 13.
Graveyard. Those ones go there.
Yep, and thinking if Underworld Breach comes down, you can
going over
Breach,
here.
bring back Slick Shot, Show Off, maybe Lava Dart from the yard. 4 damage in the
And
air.
now you
Just
can go.
none of these numbers are really coming up too clean, as there is still blockers for every one of these prowess creatures.
Boss's draw might be the last one of his tournament. See what he
will land
found.
you.
That is a
All right.
Scalding Tart, and that is going to do it. Sam Pardee is going to win this game and match. That's old number 3. He is into the top 8 here in Amsterdam.
Impressive stuff from an incredible Magic player. Well deserved of another top 8, and nice to see that he's nice, cool, calm, and collected, even in a stressful situation like mulliganing to 5, facing down a harsh mentor and not really having a perfect plan of how to deal with it and kind of comboing through it is something we haven't really seen all weekend. So big congrats to Sam.
Yeah, a heck of a congrats there to Sam. For Brian Boss, a heck of a run, of course, and he picked a really, really good deck to combat Nadu. But that kind of shows the power of this Bant Nadu deck, a deck that is geared to beat it. And, of course, Brian beat it plenty of times over the course of the weekend.
4-2, I believe,
Yeah.
so still pretty good.
But couldn't get that 5th win. And it goes to show you that that Bant Nadu deck is something else, folks. So there is Sam Pardee. He's a happy guy. He doesn't get too stressed out in these situations. We'll see if our next players will right after this. We are back here from Amsterdam. It is Pro Tour Modern Horizons 3 here at MagicCon Amsterdam. Plenty of players having fun. 10,000 of our closest friends. This event did sell out here this weekend, and let me tell you, it's been a very, very busy one out there. It's been a very busy one in here in the booth. Cedric Phillips, Corey Baumeister getting ready to bring you another match where players are playing for top 8. Now, I don't know, Corey, you heard of this guy before. Seth Manfield.
Oh, I think I've heard of him. Yeah, he plays Magic the Gathering, right?
Couple of top finishes, not a ton. Top finishes equal actually his record in the tournament as far as wins are concerned. 11 top finishes, 11-4, with a mono black Necro dominance deck here this weekend, going up against Carlos Oliveros Guntín, who no top finishes just yet, but one win away from changing that number on the old display.
Yeah, absolutely. And Seth having the chance to do something that we haven't really seen too often, I imagine. Win 2 PTs here in one season would be absolutely incredible from the Hall of Famer.
That's light work for Seth, I'll tell you what. Two-time Pro Tour champion, of course, did win Pro Tour Murders at Karlov Manor in Chicago earlier this year with that incredibly innovative Rakdos Vampires deck. He was ripping veins and taking names. Now he's getting a little dominant with a mono black strategy here in Amsterdam.
Yeah, powerful 3-drop black cards here are kind of his theme for this year here.
I wouldn't change it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Absolutely.
A Boreal Grazer is where we will start things here in game number 2. You do see that Manfield is up a game with this mono black Necro dominance deck. But it looks like Carlos does have a pretty good hand over there. We're going to get a better look at it. I wasn't kidding when I said it was pretty good. It does have Shuko and, of course, Nadu.
Yeah, that one was pretty much all ready to go with a top deck land over the course of a couple turns, but can't imagine... you know, actually, this one could be a little close if you take Shuko. I think it's just Nadu would kind of be my initial reaction here, but we'll see what Seth takes.
Yeah, this is what makes it so tough, because you try to pick a hole by taking a Nadu, but this deck has so many virtual copies of Nadu with Quarter Calling and Summoner's Pack that discard spells, while effective in the short term, not the best cards in the long term in a matchup like this.
Exactly. You know, you can pick one of the cards, your opponent draws a Nadu and you feel bad. You could take Shuko, your opponent draws Urza Saga and you feel bad. So kind of a guessing game a little bit. Did draw Court of Calling there.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes. There's a Shuko. Oh, let me sloth in. Let me give you a little beat down there. I know somebody's pretty happy about that attack in the back. That's for sure, as we're going to head back over Seth's way.
Yeah, Boreal Grazer probably not getting in for damage too often. It does reduce the amount of cards that you can draw with Necro Dominance, so it's not really nothing.
Hey, that attack is not nothing. Speaking of not nothing, Phyrexian Tower is a land here for the turn for Seth. Let's see what the follow-up is here for the multi-time Pro Tour champion.
Now, this does enable some of the really, really powerful draws of maybe Evoke Grief here, sacrifice it to the Phyrexian Tower, play Necro Dominance this turn. That's one of the lines. You can, of course, evoke Grief, cast a Malakar Rebirth on it, and then sacrifice it to the tower to have 2 mana left over. So one of these busted draws could be on its way here for Seth Manfield.
Well, here is a Grief. It will be evoked, of course. The Inquisition of Kozilek will be the fodder for that. Here's the hand. Court of Calling, as mentioned, is the new draw.
It's the new card entering the graveyard here quite soon enough.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. That's going to bite the dust, going to sacrifice that. Grief to the tower. Is it time for the namesake? 3 mana. Wouldn't be surprised. Yes, indeed. Necro Dominance has arrived. Now, how much life will Seth pay? That's going to be a fun one to watch here.
You know, Cedric, I was just going to say, Phyrexian Tower as the second land could be a bit of a liability here, as, you know, it is only tapping for colorless if you don't have any creatures to get rid of. Never mind. I'm going to take that back.
Never mind, indeed. So Seth's not going to pay a ton of life. Looks like only falling down to 16.
I mean, the ideal draw here. Just a turn 1 disruption plus turn 2 being able to Grief and Disrupt and play Necro Dominance. This has got to be the tip top of the draws that you can have with this.
Oh, absolutely. Look, when the draw looks like this from Necro Dominance, this is why people are playing the deck here this weekend. And because the power level of what we've just seen over the early stages of this game, it's borderline unrivaled in the format. So, you know, this is the top end. The bottom end is pretty ugly, but we don't talk about that. We focus on when the good is going great here, and it is right now for Manfield. In the meantime, Carlos is going to sacrifice that Misty Rainforest to search up a Hedge Maze. The Summoner's Pack was the surveilled card, and it's headed into the graveyard. So now Seth is going to discard that Swamp, which is exiled because of Necrodominus' text, and we head Carlos's way.
Yeah, with the draw like this, you say nah who instead of nah do.
Yeah, indeed. No argument here, partner. Trust me. So Carlos doesn't have much to do besides that attack with that Grazer. Remember, Seth doesn't have the opportunity to draw a card because of the Necrodominus being on the battlefield, so going to have to work with what he's got for right now. Going to start things off with a Swamp Will Manfield. We'll see where Seth does want to go from there.
Now, there is the endurance from Carlos, so no matter what, there's going to be a little bit more pressure coming at Seth, so has to be a little conscious of how far he wants to go with this Necrodominance. We're not going to see 11 here, you know. If you brick, then you just lose to endurance plus an attack with Grazer. Okay, never mind. Well, it wasn't 11.
Yeah, it was not. You are right in that it was not 11. We agree. It's a whole bunch more than that. Manfield's down to 1. Now, the thought process, here's the thought process here from Seth, in my estimation.
Yeah.
If endurance is going to be played, I get the opportunity to kill it with March, right? So now if Seth says, I'll go to discard, and Carlos says, fine, then Seth has to lose a bunch of cards, right? But if Carlos wants to deploy endurance, that gives Seth the opportunity to say that resolves and then move forward in kind. Now, one thing Seth is going to do for sure here is gain a little bit of life via the Soul Spike. So found a couple of cards to throw away for the alternate casting cost of that. It's 5 to 15 now. Seth has a ton of cards in hand, and it can basically kill anything that Carlos plays.
Yep, absolutely. If you had a March in your hand, there's zero risk to this. You know, Seth is definitely not the player that would take an unnecessary risk, so I would imagine one of those cards was in the hand right away. And now, I mean, you're gaining so much life here. You can pretty much draw your entire deck next turn and likely finish this game off. There's not really one draw I can think of from Carlos to be able to do the thing next turn. You know, Nadu is great, but you need a couple more pieces when you'd only have 6 activations.
So a second Soul Spike there is going to make it 9 to 11. I think Seth's life total is going to be heading up even further now, as there is a March. It's just a number of how many black cards Manfield wants to get rid of to destroy that Arboreal Grazer. Sad face for Sloth fans, but that's how it goes sometimes, folks.
This will be the deadest Sloth you have ever seen.
Yes, ain't that the truth? So that's long gone. Now it looks like Seth is going to mosey on up to 13. Again, this is all an effort to get rid of these cards now because Seth's maximum hand size is 5 due to the Necrodominance that's on the battlefield. So it's a use it or lose it type situation as there's an endurance.
Yeah, we'll see if Seth wants to respond to that again, or if it's just time to go to hand size, maybe untap with a land, then play Shieldred and have that really nice follow-up. But looks like there is another March.
And Seth is just deciding exactly how he's going to go about using it. And there's another March to take care of the endurance. So again, all those cards are exiled. And look, I know that Seth was at 1.
Was being the key word.
Yeah, I know that he was at 1. Sure, it certainly doesn't feel like it. And if you're wondering why people elected to play this mono black Necrodominance deck, this is why.
Yeah, absolutely. That was one heck of an incredible turn here. And it is looking very, very almost sure that Seth Manfield is going to make his 12th top finish here in just a moment.
3 mana being tapped. This, we will see what it's going to be. Seth may be thinking things over just a little bit more. Very far ahead in this game and already up a game, but wants to make sure that he's able to secure that top finish once again, as Corey did mention. Oh, okay. Well, big rub-ins here with the old trawler.
Yeah, had Shieldred and the One Ring. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Bogart Trawler, please.
Let's do this thing. So that's going to take care of the graveyard there of Carlos. Carlos going to sacrifice a fetch land and do a little bit of surveilling here via the Selesnya surveil land. You'll need one heck of a draw step here.
I will say the Bant Nadu deck has looked amazing, but so has this mono black deck. This is going to be our second copy here in the top 8, and I will say this mono black deck looks like a complete blast to play as well.
Yeah, look, this is a really, really cool and innovative deck. No
Yeah.
idea what the best build of it is, but one thing is for sure, when it is operating on all cylinders, it looks like the best deck in the format, and that's what it's looked like in this particular game. A copy of the One Ring here from Carlos yields an Urza Saga, which is on the battlefield now. So we're going to head back Seth's way. Can't draw a card, but certainly can play one, and it's going to be a copy of Shieldred, which is great alongside Necrodominance.
Pretty
and
good.
it's also really good at making the One Ring suck.
Yeah, what an incredible card here. We'll see how many cards Seth wants to draw. Normally here, you max out, right? Like you go down to 1 and then you go up in life, you know, times 2 of every card you draw. but Seth doesn't want to deck here in this kind of situation and maybe kind of has what he needs already. So only draws, looks like a modest 5 cards there.
Now, one thing to note, it is minor at this stage of things, but because of the one ring, Soul Spike is not an option because of the protection, but the protection is gone now, so Carlos is going to draw a card and lose a little bit of life. Thanks to Shieldred. Seth ain't going to miss that, I can promise you that much.
Yeah, and you can tap the one ring. If you got nothing else, you kind of have to. And there is 4 life. So there's the Shieldred, and now you are under that magical number of 4 here. So if it is Soul Spike territory, we are all done here.
And I think it's pretty safe to say that Seth is going to have a couple of looks at Soul Spike next turn.
Yeah.
Might be able to draw a couple of cards to try to find it.
Yeah, and really, it isn't even Seth who has to blink first. There's already just 2 lethal creatures that have to be blocked. There's an Urza Saga to do 1, but drawing a card off Horizon Canopy is not a great sign for Carlos.
It certainly is not, and that is going to do it. Seth Manfield's going to win this game and match top finish number 12. Hiya! It is secured. What a master. Flex on him, buddy. He's done it again.
Wow, this top 8 is shaping up to be one of the all-timers here. We got some amazing pros in here already. Speaking of amazing pros, there's a few of them.
Yeah, a couple of good people to know hanging out on the rails. Seth Manfield, a top 8 earlier this year, of course, in Chicago, won that tournament with that incredibly cool and unique Rakdos Vampires deck.
Yep.
I think this one might actually be cooler, Corey.
I think this one feels a little bit better. Being able to do it twice in one season has got to just be an amazing feeling. Going to be interesting to see how deep he can go tomorrow.
I'll tell you, Seth Manfield putting himself in the conversation as one of the best Magic players of all time. 2 players that are looking to add to their resumes, just a little bit behind Seth, but you got to start somewhere. Daniel Goetschel and, of course, Marco Del Pivo, both these players with a top finish on the resume, checking in on their records, 10-4-1 versus an 11-4. Tiebreakers could get a little bit interesting here if Goetschel does win, but we'll get to that if it works itself into the equation. For now, we turn our attention to this third and final game between the two. Not sure if you've heard of this card. It's called Nadu.
Bant Nadu, you know, I'm already over that card. I'm all on to Seth's deck. I'm now a believer of the mono black deck.
It'll be a grazer alongside a Surveil land, so this is a very nice start here for Marco. We're going to head back over to Daniel, who is a very popular and potent Magic Online player, loves Izzet Phoenix in Pioneer. I suppose maybe a big fan of birds in all formats.
Yeah, I think so. Gold Ducat online, if anyone has had the great pleasure of losing a lot of games against him on that platform. I know I have.
Daniel's going to sacrifice a Verdant Catacombs. It is worth noting that Daniel's version of this Nadu deck here this weekend is 4-color as opposed to Bant, which is 3. Gives you access to some discard Orcish Bowmasters and a couple other odds and ends that may come up in this match. We will cover them when we can. For now, that fetch land is going to do a little surveilling.
Yeah, and see which player can be more explosive. Kind of taking a peek. We saw Daniel's list here last round here up against Shuhei. Marco has some nice hate cards in the board here. A couple Force Negations, Drannith Magistrates, a couple Dismembers and stuff. So very prepared for the mirror as far as reacting to what your opponent is doing.
Breeding Pool going to enter the battlefield untapped here for Daniel, so he'll fall down to 16. May not be a bad time for an Orcish Bowmasters if there is one, but it looks like Daniel might just be passing the turn back, and he is. So this is an Orcish Bowmasters.
Upkeep, definitely a choice there.
Oh boy. Whammy. Veil of Summer, you talked about hate cards. You held one back there,
yeah,
partner.
Oh, excuse, that was the next one I was about
Okay,
to
you
say.
held one back there.
That is a fun of one of in the sideboard as well. Doesn't come in against all the Bant Nadu decks, I'll tell you that.
Now here is Shuko, and Dried Arbor is the land after that. That'll trigger the Nantuko, which will bring an insect along with it. So we got Marco Del Pivo. He is cooking right now with a very, very nice start. Shuko there, now Shuko on the Sloth. We're going to head back over to Daniel. Daniel's going to have a better turn than the last one. That much is for sure.
There is a Nadu, so that could be the most important card here that Marco is missing. We haven't gotten a good glimpse of his hand there, but being able to play that, and Orcish Bowmaster, you know, does a great job at removing some other creatures, but it also does a fantastic job of just putting 2 bodies into play to help out with the powerful combo.
Well, just a fetch and a pass there from Daniel. So Shuko's going to get equipped up on an insect. There is a Windswept Heath. That'll, of course, trigger the Nantuko for another 1/1. So much fun that they'll be attacking here. 1 for 2 and 1 for 1. Well, it looks like Daniel's going to take that damage and fall down to 9. So Daniel actually doesn't have much life to work with here.
The attacking strategy here from the Bant Nadu deck. Bold. We haven't seen it.
Yes.
I feel like it's always, yeah, you're doing some attacking here and there, and you're like, oh, never mind, I found Nadu.
Yeah, that's kind of how it goes, right? You know, I can get some chip shots here and there, but then I find the namesake card, and that kind of gets things over with. So Breeding Pool enters the battlefield untapped. Of course, another trigger there from the Springheart Nantuko. And heck, what's the follow-up here? Well, that's, oh boy, that's good.
Okay.
That's a Teferi Time Raffle. There's going to be a response here. It looks like it's going to be Court of Calling for 2. Yes, indeed.
See what we're going to get from this to see if it is going to be a card that's going to prevent Marco from doing the Nadu things or try to get Daniel closer to doing Nadu things himself.
Well, here's another copy of Orcish Bowmasters. That's going to take care of the Springheart Nantuko. Now Teferi will resolve. We'll see exactly what the powerful Planeswalker wants to do.
Yep, and notably, Teferi has been pretty poor against Bowmasters. You know, kind of the reason that Teferi was declining a little bit in popularity, but now that Bowmaster has declined, Teferi ticks up, and there's all that kind of song and dance.
Well, that Teferi's going to tick down. It's going to bounce a Bowmasters back to Daniel's hand, which triggered the Bowmasters that was on the battlefield to take care of an insect. So Army's going to be a 3/3. Bowmaster's still on the battlefield and ready to be cast once again. It'll have to be main phased because of the static on Teferi, so we'll see how Daniel wants to navigate this turn.
So we saw the Nadu for sure already from Daniel. If there is a land 4 plus Shuko, which at a quick glance I didn't see, there is land 4, but no sign of an artifact there at the moment. I do see a Court of Calling, so you could get that into play. And it looks like only cord for 1. 1 is not 3 to be able to get the combo going with Outrider and Core.
It looks like in the meantime it's going to be a Wall of Roots and the Bowmasters in the main phase. Bowmasters will take care of the Teferi. The Army will grow into a 4/4. Keep in mind the Roots has been used this turn, so no more additional green mana from that very powerful 05. So we're going to head back over Marco Del Pivo's way. Marco going to kick things off with a Misty Rainforest. Still just looking for ways to get the Nadu combo online. Cards in hand, but it doesn't look like any of them are the legendary birds. So here's a Court of Calling. This one's going to be for 2.
Looks like might be for 3.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all day, right? 2 from the wall, then 3 other creatures.
Plus 1 land, I
Am I
believe.
missing one? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
well, then I'm missing a big one there because there's the Outriders on Core. And Core, you already mentioned
Yep.
the fact that there is a Nadu in hand here for Daniel Goetschel.
That was nice because Daniel had the ability to cord proactively for this or corded for 3 reactively for the one of Reclamation Sage in the board to deal with Shuko if there was going to be some Nadu stuff from Marco. So a flexible card here and caca.
Wow, the hand comes out right away. Daniel Goetschel is going to win this game and match here over Marco Del Pivo. That's top finish number 2. And boy, does he look pumped up about it. Congratulations.
I always love when somebody that is so successful online translates it to their first huge win here at the Pro Tour level because, you know, that kind of testing and practice at the digital stage when you can play that many games in a row usually eventually translates to the pro level, and it's just really cool to see another player do it.
It's a tale as old as time. Brad Nelson, your brother, of course. Reed Duke has done it, and many others have, and Daniel Goetschel is the next one on that list. A great online player turning into a great real-life one, too. Ken Yukuhiro, Simon Nielsen, these two don't do so bad at the game of Magic no matter where it's played. They're both 11 and 4. We got Mardu Energy on one side, Bant Nadu on the other. Top 8, so they got plenty of them, trust me. Ken with 4 and Simon, I'm losing track.
You know, Simon did top 8 5 in a row, but took this last one off. You know, just thought, you know, it's time for somebody else to get a chance to make it to the top 8 instead of it just being a top 7 and Simon for basically the last year and a half.
Well, we're joining game number 3 in progress, and if you're a Simon Nielsen fan, you're probably pretty pumped at what you're saying. If you're Ken Yukuhiro, not so much. Simon's Battlefield's got plenty of lands that are tapped. A Sylvan Safekeeper, a Teferi for protection, Nadu and Shuko. Those are pretty good together if you're new around these parts, and it's looking pretty tough here for Ken.
Oh, man. Ken has the coolest deck, but every time we come in, he is just kind of getting destroyed by these Nadu decks, whether it be a bad draw or a bad matchup, unsure.
You're seeing Sylvan Safekeeper save a little something here. And Shuko's going to be added to the hand from the Nadu trigger, so let's see exactly what Simon wants to do to work through all of this.
17.
Yes, of course, sorry. And this is Shroud and targeted twice.
It's a tough spot here for Ken, to say the least, Corey.
Yep, absolutely. Not a land to be able to try to destroy Shuko, kind of the one piece that you can kind of pick apart. We did just see Simon put another Shuko into hand, so oh, it just feels so deflating when you have the Sylvan Safekeeper plus Nadu plus a Teferi. It just doesn't seem like there's a way out here at all. And can you believe it? It looks like Simon's going to top 8 again.
The answer to the question is yes, I can.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, I can.
Actually, it's not even that surprising anymore. Yeah.
That's right. I can believe it. It's starting to become a little too regular around these parts. I'll tell you what. Him, Javier, Seth.
I mean, Javier going, what, did we just say 4 or 5 tournaments in a row where his worst place was 10th?
That's right.
I mean, Simon Nielsen going 6 Pro Tours and top 8ing 5 of them, of the last ones.
Not so bad, and here comes the energy. You know how this works, everybody. We're getting used to it. Find your folks, give them that big high five and hug. Simon Nielsen has done it again. Another top 8 on the resume for the reigning Player of the Year, Corey.
Javier Dominguez.
Yes, sir.
Eli Cassis.
Heard of him.
Simon Nielsen.
Familiar.
Teammates.
Not bad.
All in and absolutely crushing this tournament. Team Handshake, people have been like, yeah, they didn't have that great of a Pro Tour last time. Maybe they're not as good. No, absolutely not. You can have one bad Pro Tour and still be one of the most dominant teams here on the Pro Tour. So awesome to see. Big congrats to all the teammates.
Yeah, see, they got to throw them off the scent. Make people think they lost a little bit, then take it all back. That's what Team Handshake is trying to do here this particular weekend. A very, very impressive display. We're going to see more of them tomorrow. We hope we're going to see you tomorrow too. But before we call it for the evening, Maria's got a little word for you fine folks, because we got a top 8 that we got to bring to you.
Thank you so much, Cedric. Well, the last results are in. We're getting ready for our top 8 ceremony. We're first going to bring you a short announcement. Here's Ailey Loney.